We are back on the ML Sports Platter. It's all brought to you by our good friends at Burn Dairy and Arc of Onondaga, turning disability into ability. Go donate at the page at arcon.org. That's ARCON.org. Arc of Onondaga, a proud Platter sponsor. We talk NHL with one of my favorites through the years. Been following him. It's Greg Wyshynski from ESPN, NHL reporter, insider writer. You can get him on Twitter. And, of course, a very, very big fan, apparently, of my man cave. And I love your background as well, Greg. Thanks for the time, buddy.
My background is like a C grade Mina Kimes background. I just tried to steal shelves and books from her, maybe a plant to try to liven it up a little bit, but it gets the job done, I think.
Yeah, you only need, what do you need back there? Maybe the Nintendo, like passing, right?
Like passing, yeah. I'm jealous of the people who have giant bookshelves, and it looks like somebody's study where after they're done with their sports center hit, they go over in the corner and smoke a pipe in a big chair. I feel like I'm doing myself a disservice here, but like I said, it gets the job done.
You know what you could do with the plant? You could have the plant a little shorter, put a Sega Genesis under there and be like, gotcha. See?
Well, okay. In full disclosure, though, that would be Tratorius to the younger Greg Wyshynski, because I was never a Sega guy. I was always a Nintendo guy. Remained that way.
Okay.
As I was playing Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm sorry, Tears of the Kingdom, actually, on my Switch 2 last night, since there was no hockey on. So it would definitely be a Nintendo product on
yeah, no hockey. You got to go to the depths of hell to go find something to do for you without hockey. We are at the Olympic break, though, and I'm as excited as we record this as I am for all the games. Right here, these guys, they've made a run. They've done it. They've gotten back in. So I start you with a very simple question. Will the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs?
Well, there's two ways to answer that, which is my hope, which is that they will, because it's been far too long. I say that as a fan of the team with the longest playoff drought in pro sports, the New York Jets. I understand the pain of not being in the postseason, and I hope the Sabres make it, because I think that this fan base is ready to re-engage with the product. And the first step is getting into the playoffs, showing some proof of concept, getting some of the people that maybe haven't been passionately following the team back into the fold. Let's put it that way. But then there's also the reality of the situation, where I really took a deep dive on the Sabres before the Olympic break to kind of figure out why this has all been happening. And a lot of it's been happening because the goaltending's been better. And a lot of it's been happening because the puck is going in the net. The puck is going in the net with a very high shooting percentage, which, as anyone knows who knows hockey, isn't always sustainable. And my concern for the Sabres is that when you look at some of the analytics, they were actually better before the streak than during the streak, which is kind of nutty when they're winning all these games. So what I'm hoping for is that there is continued improvement of their game after the break, that some of the things that seem like they are unsustainable at least sustain long enough to get them into the playoffs, and that obviously the goaltending continues to hold up its end of the bargain, both in play and in health.
I will get to a couple Olympic things with you, but I wanted to start with the NHL. And I look around the league, and I think I did a few videos a couple weeks ago, Greg, where I didn't really think there were a lot of terrible teams. Where you look around the NFL during the season, you're like, wow, there's like 6 or 7 terrible teams. Now maybe there's a couple more terrible teams in the NHL. But how healthy do you think the product is right now from that standpoint? Size, speed, skill, youth, etc. A lot of it's spread across the league. I personally think hockey's never been better. I know people are sick and tired of me saying that, but from a pure standing standpoint, if you have newcomers or fans of the game, I have friends of mine who are newer fans. They just kind of got into it 5-6 years ago. They're in love with the game. From a pure product perspective, you can watch X amount of games per week, but then look at the standings and see a lot of things and teams close together, but it's not a watered down close together. They're there because they're competing. How important is it, and how healthy do you think it is right now that you can literally look and say, there's a lot of good, great, and elite in this league, right?
Well, let's start with the product itself, which I agree with you has never been better. I mean, the quality of athlete across the league has never been better. The offensive numbers that we've seen in the NHL in the most recent years have rivaled the scoring averages that we used to have in the early 1990s. I think from a power play proficiency perspective, it's been as good as we've had since the late 1980s. So for all those people who are like, what happened to the Wayne Gretzky era where the games used to have a lot of goals? Well, we're back in it in a pretty spectacular way. As far as the number of teams that aren't terrible, there are a couple of ways to look at it. Some people aren't fans of the sort of parity where only maybe one or two teams are elite, at least on paper and in the standings, and everybody else is kind of in a mushy middle. I'm a guy who thinks the more teams and the more cities and the more fan bases you engage with the potential of a playoff spot, the better it is. I'm gonna expand the playoffs guy with a play-in round where 8 would play 10 or rather 7 would play 10 and 8 would play 9. Like,
Wow.
I just think more people should be invited to the party, and the more teams that believe that they could maybe gain access to the party as deep into the season as you can make it, I think is as good for the product as anything else.
Pressure cooker wise, anybody have more than Connor McDavid as an athlete in this game right now? I mean, he's on Team Canada. They are expected to win everything that they enter internationally. They're supposed to win. And then you got the Oiler thing. He's got that little minor bridge deal, right? It was a 2-year deal to try to raise Lord Stanley, and they've knocked on the door. I mean, this is probably the last couple cracks for him in Edmonton. Is that what the hockey community is saying? Is that what you're hearing?
Yeah, I think everybody is sort of of the mind that he's given Edmonton this year and then 2 more to crack the code, build the right team around him, get the right mix. Obviously, they've been pretty aggressive in trying to remake their goaltending this year, which a lot of people felt was the Achilles heel for those teams that went to the Cup final and didn't win. But it's funny, though. I think Connor McDavid is sort of Teflon. Like, I think he's kind of unimpeachable. I think many people feel like he's kind of doing Edmonton the favor by only taking 2 years and saying you have this much amount of time to make the team a champion, because he is not the problem necessarily in Edmonton, which brings me to the guy who I think has the most pressure, which is Auston Matthews. The Leafs are out of a playoff spot. He's taken a lot of grief in Toronto for not being the player that he was as far as his offensive numbers. And then, you think about the Olympics. I mean, when you turn on Peacock to start streaming, he's right on the graphic with like Michaela Schifrin and the Quad God. So it's like, the pressure is there for him to be the marquee player of this Team USA. He's the team captain. He only had 3 assists in the 4 Nations tournament. I think the pressure is on him to put the puck in the net and not just set up other people. And so, as much as McDavid's probably feeling it, I think Matthews is probably feeling it doubly so.
Fair enough. Two more quick ones for you. Greg Wyshynski with us here, of course, NHL senior writer for ESPN, Puck Soup, you name it. You can follow him on Twitter. Huge handle on Twitter, and of course all the major platforms as well, at Wyshynski. Just simple, the last name, and of course has just so many awesome things on the NHL for you on the daily. Olympics, hit me with. Everybody says best on best. There's no rush. I struggle with that, but hit me with anything else that jumps to mind. Team USA, pressure. Is this the year, right? You've got the Swedish defense, which is awesome. Maybe Germany can steal a game. You got Draisaitl and that roster. Goaltending with the Czechs, maybe. We don't know. I mean, anything that you want to hit me with Olympics, plus maybe some memories going back, covering the game. It's awesome. We love the Olympics. There's no doubt. But that best on best thing, it's like 4 nations for me. I mean, that Russian roster, Greg, without that Russian team, geez, right? Oh.
I won't go as far to say there should be an asterisk because as a Ukrainian, there's a lot of reasons why Russia shouldn't be there. But, it is hard to call it best on best when you have 2 of the top 10 scorers in the NHL and Nikita Kucherov and Kirill Kaprizov not part of the tournament. Mm-hmm. I'll say 2 things. The first thing is, as we're already seeing in the Olympic tournament, there's just going to be upsets. These teams are remarkably talented. And in some cases, they play more like a team than maybe another team does that has more talent on paper. And that's always the way it is in the Olympics, is the upsets come when one team can execute and find chemistry and bond together more quickly than another team does. The other thing I'll say is that I think there's so much anticipation for a USA-Canada rematch after 4 nations, to see the Kachucks take on Canada, to see Canada, try to stay on top of the mountain as this yapping puppy called the United States keeps on nipping at their heels. But we got to remember what happened in Sochi, which is Canada was in one group, the US was in another group, and Sweden was in a third group.
Yeah.
And Sweden had a better record after group play than both Canada and the US, who both needed overtime wins.
True.
So that's why those two teams, Canada and the US, met in the semifinals. So we have this vision. They're going to play for gold. It's going to be the ultimate showdown. King Kong and Godzilla marauding through the countryside to play for gold. And it might actually be for the right to play for gold if things play out the way they did in Sochi, and Sweden, who I think is probably the best team in that group, ends up getting the top or second seed coming out of group play.
All right, wicked knuckleball coming at you to end it. And I just thought of this. I heard the Kachuk brothers talking on their pod about they did Mount Rushmore of uniforms in sports. And I think one of them chose the Carolina blue, and there were a few other ones in there. Obviously, a few hockey ones. The Panther one with the, that light blue with the palm tree one got on there. What's your Mount Rushmore of uniforms in hockey right now? What do you have
right now?
Your big four, and
it
could be anything.
If we took what's in the league right now, let's stick to the league right now. Like the Detroit Red Wings red jerseys are always going to be
that's easy
paramount for me. They're just classic. Not a universally accepted pick, but the white Chicago jerseys are pretty dope. Again, original six, playing the classics. I am a fan of the Gretzky era LA Kings jerseys, probably just because of what it evokes from my youth. And they break out those jerseys now and again, and it's pretty cool. And I let's see here. Who would be the other one? It's a good question. I actually think that the Ducks have figured out their jerseys, which is cool. Like they had that big webbed D for a while, and it was dumb. And then they went back to the classic Mighty Ducks logo and have made the jerseys look pretty good. I think that's
orange though.
Yeah, right? But I'm fine with that. I love teams that let their color freak flag fly a little bit. So I'll give you some classics. I'll give you some newbies. If we went like all time and brought in like the outdoor games, I'd probably have some different answers for you. But off the top of the noggin, that's probably what I would say today.
I love it. He is a senior NHL writer at ESPN. Of course, get him on Twitter at Wyshynski and the Puck Soup Group as well. Covering the National Hockey League from A to Z, one of my favorites through the years. Greg Wyshynski, thank you so much. It's all brought to you by Burn Dairy and Arc of Onondaga. Keep up the great work, man. Hopefully we can do it again soon. And let's go Buffalo. Break the drought, baby.
I hear you, man. Appreciate your time and love being here. We'll just do it again.